Blues. Today I'm going to be doing a slightly different kind of video. I'm just going to be sitting down and talking to you about the experiences that Dan and I had in Japan. It has been a few months since our trip and obviously we absolutely loved it. We did a few vlog videos if you guys are interested that you can check out, and yeah, there was just so much that we miss about Japan. Of course, we could spend days talking about what we loved and our experiences. And for those of you who don't know, we did go to Tokyo, Japan back in May. We got to see a lot of modern day Japan as well as traditional Japan. We went to some shrines, we got to see Harajuku and Shinjuku and Ikebukuro and all of those kind of fun, bustling places. And you guys know me. Of course, one of the things that I missed is going to all of the arcades and obviously the food. It was just so good. Our Airbnb was located next to a koko curry, which we had several times on our trip. We also had gyoza and beef bowls and ramen and udon and all traditional Japanese foods like sushi, all of that stuff. It was just so good. But today's video is not about those kind of things because I feel like everybody talks about those kinds of things. And if you are interested in Japan and if you're new to this channel and you don't know anything about us, you probably clicked on this video because you already know a thing or two about Japan. So today I'm actually going to talk about the smaller things that we witnessed in Japan, some things almost every single day, and it's just those small little things that made visiting Japan even more special, unique, interesting. And they're just kind of things that we don't see where we live in the United States, which again, if you're new, we are from the United States. We are from New England in the small state of Vermont. So it's hard to kind of compare the countryside of Vermont, which is a very rural state, to the bustling city of Tokyo, which of course is one of the world's largest cities. So obviously they're going to have things there that we don't have here. And even places like LA, where Dan is from, we don't have those kinds of things here either. So it's not completely based off of like a rural point of view, because Dan is very familiar with LA, so that's where his family is. I've been there multiple times, and so obviously I never saw any of those things in LA, and when I spoke to Dan, he never witnessed any of those either. But again, this is just from my perspective, a little bit of Dan's perspective on the kinds of things that we have in the United States. So you could have these in other parts of the world outside of Tokyo, outside of Japan, and that would be cool to hear about too. So if you have any of the things that I mentioned, please comment down below, or if you've been to Japan and you've noticed like just small little things that you loved about it, also let me know in the comments down below. But now, without further ado, let's get started. So earlier I was talking about the food, so let's jump on to that subject. So Japanese restaurants aren't necessarily completely different from the restaurants around here. Obviously you pay money, you get food, the types of food are different and everything like that, but there was a couple of differences that were very common in Japanese restaurants that we don't have out here. Now, I'm not saying that it's not outside of Tokyo or Japan, but again, just bear with me. So one of the things that we thought was really cool is that, like the United States, they do give free water to their customers in the restaurants, but instead of having to request water or waiting for the waiter or waitress to come to your table and bring you out water, the water in Japan is actually most likely located right on your table, which I thought was a really cool idea. They keep it cold with ice cubes and things like that, so I never really found lukewarm water, so I didn't think it was a problem them leaving it on the table. But I thought it was great because you could then serve yourself and have as much water as you needed. And we actually even ran into some restaurants as well that had like little faucets on the bar because they were like sushi restaurants and like those conveyor belt sushis. And so they had a hot water faucet, and you would take the matcha powder and you would give yourself your own hot water, and that was absolutely free too. That was not part of the bill, and it was like self-serve, so the matcha powder was out there and then you could, you know, fill it up how much you liked and sort of make your own drink. And that was a little bit less common, but it was still a pretty cool thing to see that I've never seen in the United States. Another thing that we liked at restaurants, which could also be kind of seen as a bad thing, a lot of Japanese restaurants will have like sort of wet naps is what we call them here. They're just like moist napkins so that you can actually clean your hands before you eat, because Japan is a very cleanly society, and so I thought that was cool. Now I can see the downside to it as well, because then you might be like, well, you're creating more trash. A kind of part of me is like, well, I hope they recycle all of this kind of stuff, but I cannot confirm that. But we just thought it was cool, you know, something a little bit different that they don't do here. It was just kind of a thing to make sure you wash your hands, because I know not a lot of people think of that in the States, like, oh, we just sat down, now I have to get up, let's take turns to all go to the bathroom so we don't all leave the table at once. And so I just found it cool. And before I move on from food, because like I said, we love the food in Japan, there's another thing that I thought was really cool that many restaurants do in Japan, and that is that they have like fake food displays, so you can actually see what the food is like, and they look so realistic and they make you just want to eat there. Like, they just look so good. You know that they're made out of like plastic and resin and all of that kind of stuff, but they're just so realistic. It's just so yummy looking, and I thought that was really cool. It was a nice marketing tool to get people to come in, because I know it definitely worked on me a few times. But again, those were prevalent in Japan and just something we thought were cool. So moving on to the next thing that I thought was cool about Japan, and I almost feel like other places have to do this too. Like, I don't think this is a Japan only thing, but I've never seen it in a bathroom in the United States. But they have these like little seats for young children to sit in while you do your business. So they're kind of made out of the same material that like changing tables are made out of, and they're in the stall with you. And I saw them in many bathrooms, not all of them, and it was mostly in the multiple stall bathrooms that you have. But I just thought it was really cool that it kind of gave you a place to put your kid, a safe place, so they wouldn't be like running around the bathroom or looking under stalls, which I guess isn't that big of an issue in Japan because their stalls are more enclosed than the ones in the United States. I know I've heard this kind of complaint from other countries when they come visit. They're like, wow, there's a lot of gaps in stalls in the United States. Obviously, as I'm saying, Japan is not like that. So that's cool as well, but I thought that the seat was even cooler because it wasn't something that I was expecting, where I was expecting stalls to be more private when I went to Japan. Someone is talking to me and blowing up my phone. How rude. So other than eating, another thing that we did in Japan a lot was shopping, of course, and we walked a lot of streets, visited a lot of places, and we noticed some trends along the way as well. And one of the things that I found cool about these sidewalks, there was little like bumps and ridges along them in sort of a path to take you along. Now, I know in the States, sometimes when you like first get on a sidewalk or there's like a driveway or something, there'll be little bumps and stuff just to tell you like the sidewalk is ending or it's dipping. But in Japan, it kind of just like follows along the whole sidewalk. So you can kind of know where you're going if you are someone who is visually impaired. But I just thought that was really cool that they thought about those kind of things. And while we were there, the first week, it rained a lot. And one of the things I knew going in is that Japan really likes their umbrellas. Here, at least around where I live and what I've seen in the United States and everything, when it rains, not everybody carries an umbrella. They might have a coat with like a hood, like a raincoat or something like that, and you'll see people running through the streets. You don't really see that a lot in Japan, or at least we didn't. Again, these are going by our own experiences, but a lot of people carried umbrellas. So we used umbrellas all the time. Our Airbnb host was kind enough to leave umbrellas in there for us to use. And I guess to make a long story short, one of the things we saw when it was raining is that a lot of shops would have these little like contraptions either right outside their doors or right inside their doors. And basically it was a plastic bag covering for your umbrella. Now you're thinking like, why? Like, where are you getting these things from? Why did these interest you? And I don't know, I just think they're cool. So it was just this little contraption. You like slid your umbrella in and snapped it out, and your umbrella would be covered in the bag. So that way when you walk through the store, you weren't leaking water everywhere. And you might be thinking like, well, yeah, my shoes are gonna be wet, so the floors are going to be wet. But I just didn't never realize like how much water your umbrella retains, because when you're done, they have like a little bag, which again, I'm hoping they're using to recycle these, but you take it off and then you throw it in the bag so that you're ready to use the umbrella when you head right back outside. And the bag would be so full of water, and you're just thinking, all of these people are walking in and out all day. This water would be everywhere. So I really do think it was a neat little system that they had, very, very useful and just kind of cool, you know, to someone who's not used to it. And then another little cool thing that shops did is that when they supplied you with your shopping bags, a lot of them would just use a little tiny piece of tape and seal them shut. Now, it just seems like such a simple idea, but I found it so helpful that a lot of places did this, because then I wouldn't have to worry about my bag flopping open or me grabbing only like one of the handles and then everything like spilling out. So I thought that was cool. And then there was actually a couple of shops that, because it was raining and they were handing you paper bags that they still sealed with the little sticker, they would cover them in a plastic bag as well, so your stuff wouldn't get wet. And like one of the places I can think of that did this was one of the mandarakes we went to, because they gave us a huge paper bag to carry all of our anime merch, which of course I don't want it to get ruined in the rain. So when they covered it with a bag, I thought that was just really sweet and nice, and nothing I've ever seen the States do, which I know we get a lot of plastic bags and not so many paper bags, but there's still paper bags out there. So I thought that was just really cool and just really thoughtful of them to do. And then I guess the last thing that I want to talk about is the train cards. Now, I'm not saying that this is a completely foreign concept that I've only seen done in Japan. We've ridden the subway in Boston and like New York and stuff, so I know like Boston, they have like a Charlie card and it's like a reloadable card. But what I thought was so cool about these cards is that you could use them at vending machines, you could use them in arcades. I believe maybe like some convenience stores also allowed you to use them. So they were kind of just like credit cards. And again, this isn't a complete foreign idea, because you know, I know that people can pay for things like on their phones, and you know, you can have like a regular debit card or something like that. But I just thought it was cool that since a lot of people use the trains and subway systems and all of that in Japan, that it's just like one less card that you have to carry around if you wanted to use it for that. Now, for the most part, we didn't actually use them for anything other than the train, but the option was there just in case you ran out of cash, because you know, a lot of places in Japan don't use credit cards, so you're carrying around cash all day, and so it's just a little bit less cash to carry. Or if you run out, you know, you don't have to worry about that, and you can just like tap your card and use it. So I thought that was really cool. So those are all the things that I can just think of right now. It has been a few months, and I know Japan is like this magical place. Like seriously, I really, really loved it. So there's tons of other things I'm sure I'm forgetting about. So if you guys, once again, found anything in your travels through Japan that you don't see happen in your country? Let me know in the comments down below. Let's start a discussion. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this kind of video. I'm in no way saying that I'm an expert on Japan, and we've only been there once so far. We do want to go back. But if you guys have other questions about our trip and you like this style of video and maybe there's enough information that I could do something like this again, let me know in the comments as well. And I'll see you guys next time. Bye, Peekaboos!